We have different grades of strength here. These are Iron Mind grippers from ironmind.com. And I started using these back in 2002 when I had hand surgery, wrist surgery actually. I had to get my hand completely redone after the World Championships. And I ended up with a four-corner fusion. What was supposed to be a simple operation turned into relatively, I think, almost 15 to 17 separate operations to fix and reconstruct. So I'm now officially bionic, and that explains, you know, a lot of things. But seriously, it's a handicap, not a benefit to have your wrist fused. Trust me, you don't really want to go down that path. So what I'm going to do is organize these in relative strength loads and explain what they are and how to do them. For an adult male, I like to see a grip strength of approximately the level of a number one trainer, which is 140 pounds. And that's pretty much the starting point. I like to see that completely shut 1 to 5 times, with 5 being the optimal, 1 being the start. If you have a significant deficit in strength, it's time to address it immediately and start getting stronger, because I can't make you stronger. If you're weak and substantially weak, it will affect your ability to control the gun with muzzle flip. You can still shoot. You just won't shoot optimally. Your speed will be degraded. You know, it will be degraded. It's just the way it works. So this is a gripper. This is a 60-pounder, and what I want is hold it shut and just shut it 1 rep. And then you're going to move up. Sportsman. This is 80 pounds. Okay. This is 100 pounds, the trainer. This is for women, or a starting point for men. From there, move into the number one trainer, and this is 140 pounds. 140 pounds is probably max for most people. Then we get into the bragging rights zone, which, you know, a lot of people want to have contests now of how much they can grip. There's a very much diminishing return once you get past. This is a 1.5. This is approximately 170 pounds, and close it. And then number 2 gripper is, this is pure bragging rights to close. It's 190 pounds. And honestly, I look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, well and good if you want to train it because you want to do it, but does it help you hold the gun any better? What we're looking for when we increase grip strength is a very simple concept called strength reserve. If I have 190 pounds of available grip strength, and I say I want you to grip the gun, give me half the grip, give me a firm handshake, about 50-60%. Well, I'm putting in significant force, aren't I? I'm up there in 100, 110, 120 pounds with both hands, gripping that pistol. That's going to create a lot of pressure that I can use to control the gun and keep it from slipping. But I'm relatively relaxed with it so I can isolate my finger effectively. So then after you can do your closures, then you learn to do isolated exercises. Let's take, say, a sportsman, 80 pounds. And we close the sportsman, hold it shut, keep our grip, set the wrist tension line, and move the finger as relaxed as you can. My finger's relaxed totally on this one. I can relax my finger completely. This is a proper grip for me. But if I get into the, oh gosh, you know, I've got a number one here at 140 pounds. I think I'll hold that shut and do it. And now I'm not holding it shut. My finger is tensing up. Now what I'm doing is called jump training. I'm not training exactly the way I'm supposed to train. My ego is getting ahead of me, and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. So don't let yourself get sucked into the strength is everything, because we have some people that don't have lots of strength that are world level shooters, including some world champions. But most of our good shooters have quite a bit of strength in the grip. It is an advantage, so why not use it? They're small muscles, and you can work the heck out of your forearms. You could work almost every day. I find if I work every other day, give it a chance to recover, I get stronger.
10 times is enough.
10 to 12, again, it's a warm-up set. If it's, you know, if you're straining with it, it all comes down to percentage of your max grip. So if I'm running 190 pounds, well, let's say my max grip is 200 pounds, I'm going to work 50% of that, and that's going to be my start. So the trainer model is my starting poundage. That's 50%, and I'll start there, and I'll do, you know, good focus reps. I'll do about 10, 12. I might repeat that another time. but I'll make sure I do full focus reps where I want them. And then I'll take a short little 2-minute break, and I'll let my hands completely get back because the muscles get exhausted very quickly. And so you want to relax, let it go, and then the real work starts at 140. Now we're dealing with that 75 percentile of my total strength capacity. So now I'm going to work on the number 1, and this is where actually the quality reps for strength training begin. So from here, I start off, and I told you how many times for number 1? 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'll work it on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I have to close it. Now, I'm not trying to train to failure and try to do more than that. I will do that 2 more times. I probably will not get 10 reps. I might get 8, I might only get 6. But I'll try to do this to where I'm getting, let's say, out of a normal program, I want to do in a week's time between 150, probably 125 to 150 repetitions. So I'm going to do this each day, probably 50 repetitions to 70 repetitions, 75 reps each session, 3 times a week. That's a lot of reps, isn't it? Once a week, I'm going to pick up the, I'll actually work with a 1-5, and I'll try to do a 1-5 as part of my daily sessions. I'll take a 1-5, which is about the highest I'm going to go, and I'm going to run that from 3 to 5. And right now my hands are burned out from all the reps I did, right? Because I'm not giving myself a lot of rest. So I'm going to just burn that, and I'm going to do probably 3 quality reps. But once a week, I'm going to skip. Instead of doing this number 1 3 sets, I'll do 1 set of the 1. And then I'll go ahead and I'll take the 1-5 and I'll do the 2 remaining sets at a stronger level. And again, a 1-5 is probably the optimum for most, even world-class shooters. If you want to do a 2-5 or a 3 and pretend that that's going to make you morally superior, I mean, if that's where you get your confidence from, is your strength, that's great. The problem is, how do you teach shooters who don't have your strength to do what you do? And the problem, and the other side of that coin is, we can have people that have much less strength that can shoot exactly as fast as the guys that have twice the strength, because they have better technique. So you're teaching young, you're teaching old, you're teaching women, you're teaching men, you're teaching kids. Yes, strength has its purpose, but don't forget, technique rules. Without technique, you're just out there pounding rounds and gripping the gun as hard as you can, pretending, well, that's Stone Age. Grip helps, but it's only, 25% of the total shooting package when it comes to controlling the gun. Does that make sense? So I would firmly urge you, oh yes, extensor bands before I get sidetracked. Because we work the gripping muscles, now we're working the extensor muscles. So I'm working the extensor muscles so that I balance the strength. If I get a strength and balance, I'll get differential pulling on my tendons, and you can develop a heck of a case of tendonitis. And that's very painful. It takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get rid of. Some people, actually, it's gone so bad they need surgery to correct the problem. So this really helps you, and you know what? It helps you for more than shooting. You do a lot of typing. Some people are subjected to carpal tunnel. People that do a lot of computer work. Grip strength training, I believe, helps tremendously with those repetitive use injuries, and just strengthening the tendons and the muscles and keeping things in good shape. So I do these probably sets of 15. Extend, relax, extend, relax, extend, relax. About 3 sets of 15 is sufficient. If you want to use a heavier band, there's different sizes of bands you can use. But the object is to get quality training, not just, get a super heavy band and only be able to extend it, that far. You want to really get that extension feeling and really work those muscles. Do this training after you shoot, not before you shoot. I mean, it should be obvious, but some people don't get the message. I like to do these when I drive because it's in between where I'm going, where I'm coming from, and it's free time. and I can get one hand on it safely in traffic, and if I'm not doing it in rush hour, but I'm doing it when I'm on a highway, free highway with nobody around, I'll do grippers and just work through my grippers, and I can feel them without even having to look at them. I've got them coded on my seat, and I just grab this one, then I grab the next one, then I grab the next one, and I've got a pretty good pre-program of what I want to do and how it needs to feel. Now, you'll have people that want you to get the ultimate squeeze out, and they'll be, give it assisted reps and force it in there. Really look, if you're really looking for contest style grip training where you're doing a lot of arm wrestling or things like that, absolutely. But now you're in a different sport category. You're not a shooter. You're doing something else. Martial arts, climbers, having to climb and grip and do things. Absolutely excellent. But you're not just doing grip training, physical training, you're also taking a weighted bar with a weight on one end, and you're actually holding it out and moving up and then turning it around so that you're having to lift it, and you're creating, remember that muscle we use to hold it in a straight line? This right here? Having a weighted dumbbell and actually cranking it and having it about this far back with a couple of plates and cranking and holding and release it, crank it, hold it, release it, crank it, hold it, release it, is awesome for strengthening the forearm and the wrist tendons and making you stronger here to hold that line of force. That's independent of grip strength. They work together, but it's relatively, in other words, here's a number one. Here's 140 pounds. So I close 140 pounds, but guess what? I can still move my wrist up and down. I haven't set those tendons. And so what happens is people will grip the gun, and I'll say, I need you to set your wrist in a straight line, and they grip harder. I can still do this while I'm fully gripping. So this has to be trained strength-wise as well as the grip. And that gives you absolutely superior recall wrist muscle flip management. It works. It keeps the gun down. Jerry Mikulak has a saying. He says, if your gun ain't on target, you ain't winning. And I love that. Because if your gun's in the air up here and it's taking you 3/10, or more to bring the gun back, you're not winning. You're in between winning, And so the more I can keep that gun getting it back to target and firing the next shot, I'm winning. Whether it's a gunfight or a competition. And I love that. Jerry gets the credit for it. Because that is a very true statement from a very experienced shooter. So it's a good thing for us, and it helps us understand the concept of grip and wrist tension are two separate entities. They're not the same. One thing I do specific to shooting, we did it before, I'll reinforce it, is get in the habit of gripping, holding, and grip hold. And while you grip hold, isolate your finger and relax the finger, so don't use too heavy a gripper. How strongly can you grip and keep this finger relaxed? And this means I can freely move it. There's no feeling of tension in the finger when I'm moving it. If I feel tension, I'm not strong enough. Go to the next lower one and then build your strength.